Today, we're going to talk about how to avoid work from home scams. And we're going to talk a little bit about my very first work from home scam. I get so many questions about how do I know that working from home, like a specific job, isn't a scam? How do I know, how do I avoid the scams? And that's honestly a great question. And I always say, cover your butt. Like, always cover your butt when you're working from home. Always go the extra mile to make sure you are protected as a freelancer. I do want to say I had a little bit too much caffeine today, so my brain is literally running like this, and my mouth is running like this, so I'm probably going to misspeak a little bit. I will do my best to clarify any mistakes that I make when I'm going through editing, but I do feel like in this video I'm going to accidentally be saying scam instead of scam a few times, so I'm very sorry for my mistakes. But with that said, let's keep on going. So my very first scam was on Upwork. Now, let's talk a little bit about Upwork. I was on Upwork when it was called Odesk. I was there on Odesk when they transferred over and began calling themselves Upwork when they got bought out by Freelancer, I think is who they got bought out by. But I was on Odesk and I never ever had any problems with Odesk. But when Upwork kind of started getting bigger, I definitely started having more problems. I worked on Upwork. I didn't work consistently. I was a high school student, but I had worked on Upwork 2 years before they transferred to being called Upwork. This happened last summer when I got scammed. So Upwork has this big rule that you don't ever contact clients off of Upwork, don't ever ask for payments off of Upwork, and don't try to solicit, don't try to communicate with clients off of Upwork. Like, don't be like blah 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 on Upwork and then ask for their Skype email and start communicating with them through Skype. So kind of 3 rules all tie in together. The second rule is why I got kicked off of Upwork, but I did get scammed on Upwork. I recommend Upwork for beginners to test out the waters in freelance writing, because without a content mill as a beginner, freelance writing is terrifying. Working on a content mill allows you to gain experience. It allows you to gain knowledge on how to communicate with other people. It allows you to gain the knowledge on what you're experienced in, like what are you good at, what you're not good at. So it gives you a little tickle of what everything is about in the freelance writing world. But it's not full-blown where you have to worry about protecting yourself, worrying about scams and everything like that. So Upwork kind of acts as a mediator, and they kind of give beginners a little bit of protection. I would not recommend Upwork to anybody who has any experience working from home as any sort of freelancer, but I do recommend it for beginners because I don't want anyone to go out there and be like, yeah, I'm going to be a freelancer, and then start freelancing without a content mill and sink and totally fail, because it's very possible if you don't have any experience or any knowledge of what you're doing. And Upwork and other content mills kind of give you that idea of what it's going to be like. They prepare you like school. It kind of prepares you for the real world. So me personally, I wouldn't recommend any beginner to go, yeah, go do your thing if you don't have an experience without a content mill site. That is why I recommend Upwork for beginner freelancers. I was on Upwork and I started working full-time on Upwork for about 3 months prior to when I got scammed. So this was before I was bringing in the big bucks. I was definitely not bringing in much. I was maybe bringing in like $200-300 every single month. So sorry, I just kicked my stand. But I was on Upwork and applying to jobs constantly, and I had somebody contact me. It was a lady. She contacted me and she was like, I can't remember exactly what she said to me, but she gave me the pay. I was currently charging $60 an hour to do hourly work. She gave me the rate of $52 an hour for work, which I was like, sure. It was a bunch of editing and copywriting, which is something that I have experience in. My very first project ever on Odesk/Upwork was editing a children's book. So this is stuff that I already had experience in. The job that she was offering me all sounded very familiar. Now, she told me, she gave me her email. She said, contact me through this email. So I was the idiot who went against Upwork's rules and contact her off of Upwork. The rules on Upwork are there for a reason. They are there to protect you. But I didn't want Upwork taking a percentage of my money, so I was like, yeah, I can do this. And I contacted her off of Upwork on her email. I sent her the email. She sent me a bunch of stuff. We started chatting on, it's called like Google Chat Room or something like that. I don't remember, but it's like a chat room, like an instant message thing that Google has. So I started talking to her there, and she was like, you sound like, I started listing all of my experience, sent her my resume, she asked me all these questions, I answered. I was always raised to be super respectful, so I mean, of course that went through in this job application. She said, that sounds great. She said, you sound great, you sound perfect for the job, but we are going to need to train you for this job. I'm going to need you to start working on Monday. I'm going to start getting up every day at 8 a.m. and you're going to start doing all this stuff. And basically what I was doing was kind of a mix of copywriting, some legal documents, and doing some data entry. So I was doing all this stuff, and I would work from 8 to 5. And she was like, she told me once all this training was done, which I had completed, I started on Monday, got it done Friday. Once all the training was done, my training was going to be included in my first paycheck, like, you know, being paid, train and paid, or paid to train, whatever. So I was like, okay. And nothing she had said or done had sounded suspicious to me. It did not sound like a scam to me. So I went through, and she was like, great, and then she was like, okay, we're gonna hire you. This job is yours. And I was like, yay, $52 an hour. Like, I told my family, and we were all really excited. And so she said, she didn't really give me any critiques on my work, which now that I'm looking back, it's definitely a flag. Like, you know, an employer wants you to be perfect. They want you to be perfect for their business. And all she did was compliment me, which should have been a flag for me. But again, as somebody who is inexperienced, as somebody who is a beginner freelancer, I had no prior knowledge to scams, and I was kind of, you know, a teenager, naive. And I was like, oh, nobody's gonna scam me, haha. So all she did was compliment me. She didn't offer any critique. She didn't offer any advice. And that is definitely a red flag. Again, an employer wants you to be perfect. And obviously, like, definitely, I was probably making mistakes. And she didn't go ahead and correct them. So Friday, she told me that I got the job. I did not converse with her over phone, which is normal for me. I really don't ever talk to clients over phone. It's all over messaging, or like instant messaging, or email. So I was like, great. She was like, give me your address. We're going to send you a paycheck for you to purchase supplies to set up your own at-home office. Now, right then and there, I should have blocked her. I should have, you know, not continued talking to her. Because a legitimate company is not going to give you money to set up an at-home office. That's just not a thing. So if you have a company that's like, hey, I'm going to send you money, don't take it unless you've worked for it. She was going to send me $5,000 to purchase. She gave me a list. It was like a desk, a specific chair, like a Mac computer, all this different stuff. And I was naive, and I was like, yeah. So she sent it via like priority email. So I got it, and I gave my mom the check, and she was suspicious. I'm very open with my mom. She was a bit suspicious, but I had done research. It was some like medical place. I had looked on the website. Like, it was some hospital, and I had looked on the website for the hospital, and the hospital seemed legit. Like, there was like reviews on Yelp and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. So basically, the scammer was representing a hospital. So the first thing that my mom did when we got the check was she told me to call the bank. And I called the bank. I gave them the check number, and they were like, this check does not exist. Like, it's not exist. And so I was like, okay, and that was like the flag for me, but I was still like, no, it has to be real. Like, oh, this guy's just stupid. He doesn't know what he's doing. So my mom was like, okay, you go ahead and you call not the HR, but some department of the hospital. So I called up the hospital, and I was like, hi, yeah, I have been talking to this lady named Nancy, and right then and there, this lady, she was like, honey, I'm so sorry, we are not hiring. We, like, the lady that you've talked to all week, did she send you a check? Did she send you a check? Like, this lady, she kept asking me, like, did she send you a check? Did you cash it? Don't talk to this lady anymore. She was like, this lady, like, I wasn't the only victim. This was actually, like, nationwide, this whole thing. She's like, we're not sorry. There are scammers out there who are representing us, and we're not affiliated with them at all, and they're pretending to be us. And basically, the way the scam was going to work was I would go to the bank, cash the check would bounce, and I would basically owe, like, I don't really know. I'm not really good at banking or math or any technical thing, but they would get access to my bank account or something. I don't really know, but the check was a bad check. It was faked. And they would somehow, from that check, me depositing that check in my bank, they would somehow get $5,000 out of my, you know, misunderstanding. So I got off the phone with this lady and I was crying. I was like, oh no, I just got scammed. But I was like, thank God I had not cashed the check, because I'd have been SOL. Like, I would have been screwed, because I did not have, at the time, I think I had like $50 in my bank account. This was back when I was like still really struggling. So I got off the phone and I was like, it's a scam. It's a scam. And I feel really sad. And I actually saw it a couple days later. I saw it on national news that, I can't remember the name of the hospital to save my life, but a whole bunch of people had been scamming this hospital, pretending to be employers of the hospital, looking to hire people to work for data entry and copywriting and editing for this hospital. So I was one of the victims, even though nothing actually happened to me. I just wasted a week's worth of time. But yeah, that's what happened to me. And I contacted Upwork and I was like, hey guys, this just happened on your site. You should totally do something about it. Like, these people were able to contact me through your site. Basically, they did nothing. They're like, oh, well, this didn't happen on our site. Like, the conversing didn't happen through Upwork. So there was nothing that they did about it because they had no proof. Plus, I kind of got scolded because I broke Upwork's rules and I went off the site. So that was definitely not the best thing for me, and it kind of really sucks that Upwork didn't do anything about it, because I definitely feel like a lot more people probably got scammed. I'm just grateful that my mom is there and educated enough to know, like, hey, call the check people, like the bank that wrote the check, and then call the actual employers, like the hospital. So that is how I almost got scammed on Upwork. And that's also kind of why I wouldn't recommend Upwork for people who are intermediate or advanced, because you probably already know how to avoid these things. But if you're a beginner, like I was, I would highly recommend Upwork, because it roughs you up a little bit. You learn things. I learned from that. So after that being all said, I want to talk to you all about how to avoid work from home scams. So as of right now, there are two ways that I always look at a job listing and I go, that is a scam. The first way is if a company is like, you need to pay us to work with us. No, that is a scam. For example, let's say a company is like, okay, you send us $170 to, I don't really know why they would ask you to send the money, but if a company ever is like, send us money so you can get this job, delete the email, burn your computer, that is a scam. A legitimate work from home company, a legitimate work from home job will never, ever, 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 ever ask you to send them money for you to work there. Now, this does differ for content mill websites, because content mill websites will ask you for a monthly payment to subscribe, to be a member of their channel on their website. For example, Upwork, let's say you use all your connects and you want more connects, which means you have more jobs to apply to. They will charge you like $10 a month to have more connects, to apply to more jobs. But there should never, ever be a one-time fee. There should never, ever be a time where you actually send the company money, especially via check. But don't ever give, companies a credit card, a debit card number. Don't give them your PayPal. Don't do that. There was also another time on Upwork, and this actually happened. I didn't do anything wrong this time. There was another time on Upwork where I had a lady send me some files that she needed editing. I downloaded the files, no problem. And in the file, it was a zip file, and I unzipped it, whatever that's called. And basically, I had downloaded a virus, and she got all my banking information, and 8 o'clock that night, I had lost $600. But thankfully, that happened all through my PayPal, and I was able to put a stop payment on everything, so nothing actually happened to me. But Upwork was kind of a butthead about everything, and they were like, you should be careful about what you're downloading. But they didn't really do anything about that either, which is again why I suggest working on there for beginners, because you do learn a lot about the ins and outs and how to protect yourself better from working from home. But don't ever send any company money to work from home. Second, is companies aren't going to use any sort of money transfer, any sort of check to pay you. All companies nowadays are all online. 1, because it saves them money. 2, because it saves them money. Companies are all about finding a difference between their bottom line. They want to have more profit. So if they can find ways to make things cheaper, they're going to do it because they want to make more money. For instance, it costs money to get checks. It's going to cost them money to write you a check. They got to pay for ink. They got to pay for a pen. They got to pay for somebody to write the check. And then they got to pay for the paper, the check. Then they got to pay for shipping. So all of that stuff costs them money to send you an actual check. Any smart, legitimate company is literally going to send all of your payments online, whether it be through direct deposit, whether it be through PayPal or any sort of online direct deposit, because it saves them money in the long run. With that said, I would highly not recommend giving any company your direct deposit account. As a freelancer, I only use PayPal to accept money because PayPal does protect me. I've never really had any problems with PayPal. I've had hackers try and steal $1,000 out of my account. I've had hackers try and steal $15 out of my account, and I have suspicious alerts set up on my PayPal. So they do protect you. They really will go through. They're easy to contact on the phone. I've had a whole bunch of people try and hack into my accounts just because I worked on a computer for a while that didn't have any antivirusware or any protection whatsoever, and they always had my back. So the moral of the story is, don't send money to people to work, and don't accept checks from people to work. All of your work is going to be online, so only accept online payments. I hope that made sense, but as always, I love hearing from you all, and I will see you in my next video.